So good morning to everybody. So we are on the fifth day, the final day, and I'm sure you are finding the workshop, very thoughtful. And if it is thoughtful and it is applied to our life, actually it leads to wonders. It leads to many changes. When I went through it for the first time 17 years ago, it made changes in my own life, and that reflection also came on my students and my institution. So today we will continue with what we were doing last time, and let me 1 minute. Yeah, so let me see if I can make it full screen. Yes. So these are the topics, these are the units rather. Under the units there are several topics. So we discussed the first three units last time, day before yesterday, about student aspirations, about gratitude, competition to cooperation, the goal being excellence, uh, and needs of the self, needs of the body, and how if we can separate the two, the peer pressure goes away. And we also had a brief discussion on prosperity, so that as well. And then self-confidence. So we talked of relative self-confidence, absolute self-confidence. The absolute self-confidence comes from our being. Relative self-confidence comes based on our becoming. We become something. I have this position, I have this wealth, I know English. So this is called relative self-confidence. And the real goal is to go from relative self-confidence to absolute self-confidence. And that absolute self-confidence, that potential of reaching there is there in every single human being. Even though currently in our society there is a lot of exposure and pressure about relative things, about being better than the other, being getting good rank. But what really matters is when we work to achieve something, that's a task. That task is an open task, and if we solve it, we solve our own problem, we solve problems of our family or even problems of society and the world. So this movement from relative to self-confidence is the key of education. So as they say, uh, you can only, the human being can understand, and he can also be trained. So training and understanding, they are both parts of human being. Training is for skills, and understanding is for understanding the world. Okay. The animals, on the other hand, you can only train. There is no understanding, right? You can train the lion to jump through a ring of fire, but can you make him understand what fire means? He knows that it gets burned. So based on, if he touches fire, it is bad. He'll feel hot. But can you make him understand what it is? No. So animals can only be trained. Human beings can be trained in skills and understand the reality, understand the knowledge. So what has happened in our education? We have shifted to training, even in our education, even in our schools, in our college. So reward and punishment becomes a method, right? Just like how the monkey or the lion got trained. How do you think the lion was trained to jump through the ring of fire? It is through reward and punishment. How did you train monkeys to, ride a bicycle? Through reward and punishment. So the human being is more than an animal. It's a different class altogether. And for us, understanding is the key. So reward and punishment, even if it works for a short time. And then it stops working, and that is the crisis we are having in our colleges, because the students come in for a reward. They went through a tough competition, they got admission, and once they are in college, you can say, this is a reward, this is a punishment, but that cannot take them very far. It can only be a start, but slowly it must convert into understanding. So discipline to self-discipline, that is the journey of a human being through education. So education is the process by which one goes from discipline to self-discipline, and the self-discipline comes when we understand. So understanding is the key, and this workshop, today is the fifth day, and you would have noticed that that is what is emphasized in this workshop. And so while we do not say get rid of reward and punishment in a single day, but it is something that will slowly get phased out as human beings evolve. And as we evolve, but here I mean evolve in the sense of knowledge, evolve in the sense of our societal systems, evolve in the sense of a family. So as human beings evolve, sometimes instead of word evolve, the word used is awakening, jagrati. As human beings become more awakened, more enlightened, enlightened is another word that is used, then discipline converts into self-discipline. And that is the journey I believe, is for the entire humankind. And that is why this workshop on universal human values and its teaching, conveying these ideas to students as part of a course or as part of group discussions, that is the design. That is what we are trying to do. Slowly, it should really become part of education as a whole. No matter which subject is being taught, this basic thought is the underlying thought, namely thought of understanding. And when we say understanding, I include feelings in it, compassion in it, feeling for the other human being, feeling for nature. All this becomes part of it. So when I use the word understanding, I include not only rational or logical, but also feelings. And the feelings are what actually help us, go far. But feelings alone will not work. We have to have rational, logical, verifiable things. And the two together is what is the journey for human awakening, the Jagrat Manav. So, so that is what this workshop is about. All right. So today we will talk about relationships and a little bit on nature and environment in today's session. And let me, so when we come to relationship, trust, respect, etc., then in the sessions which you had yesterday, trust and respect were covered, even relationships were covered, and there it is feelings and how we fulfill feelings mutually. What I expect as a feeling from the other person and what the other person expects from me. Once I understand this, then I'm able to act accordingly. Okay, so here also understanding in the sense of logical, verifiable things comes in, but feelings is what is there within us. So this aspect also comes in. Okay, so this is what we covered the day before yesterday, and today this is what we will cover under relationships and nature and environment. So let me take you to the mentor's manual. Okay, just give me a minute while I switch to the mentor's manual. 1 minute. Okay, I hope it is visible to you.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, okay. Now 1 minute. Let me go back. So I'm trying to enlarge it. 1 minute. Oops, it is not following what I just said. I'll try once more.
Sir,
Yes, I'm fitting the width.
I will do. I am telling you. Use Control L, then Control plus.
That's what I did. Control L, but Control
Then
plus. All right, all right. Oh, no, no, but
Control
that is
plus.
Zoom. So I hope it will work as I move forward.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it will work.
it
Yeah.
will work. All right. Okay, so this manual is there with you. Uh, 1 minute. Yeah.
You can use page down key to move forward.
That is what I'm doing now. Mouse is not letting me move, but yeah, this key is working. So this is the same manual that is uploaded. It's a slightly updated version, not yet released. So I'm using that. So, but the chapter numbers, section numbers all remain the same. The only additional thing, page numbers might vary by a page or two here and there. Okay, so we hope to release it, in a couple of months. Okay, so we come now to relationships in family, and let me go there. Sorry, it's taking. It must be jerky for you. 1 minute. Okay, so as I was saying, we are born in a family, and every single person is born in a family, and hopefully the family continues. Sometimes today there are problems also, but every child is born and desires to live and work and grow in a family. So this is parents and children. So as a child, the first relationship we have is that with our mother. So mother, and then father, mother, and brother, sister, and grandparents, etc. So that is how things start. So here the expectation, what expectation does a child have? The initial expectation is when the child is hungry, then the mother will feed him or her. And uh, when the child grows up, then mother as well as other people in the family. But along with that, the child wants to understand this world. And the other expectation is that of knowing, wanting to know. So you will find that a child as young as even 2 years, 3 years old starts asking questions, starts saying why. My granddaughter, she's 3.5 years old, and about 3 or 4 months ago, suddenly she started asking why after everything. And of course, we patiently explained to her every time she asked. And then at a point at which we can't answer why, because that is how the world is, so we would tell her. So she might say, oh, why are you eating? Because I am hungry. Why are you hungry? Because my body wants food. Now why does your body want food? Now what is the answer to that? Well, the body needs to be replenished, should get nutrition. So we explain that. Now why nutrition? So at some point you have to say, you verify it in your own body. All right. So we try to answer, and at some point when it is something basic which can be observed, then we say, all right, you observe it with for yourself, with respect to your own hunger, with respect to your own body. So these are the expectations the child has. And what are the expectations parents have for children? So many of you or almost all of you might be parents now. So I leave it to you to examine what are your expectations from your children when the child was young, 1 year old, 2 years old, 5 years old, and so on. So this is some. So these expectations you will notice are regarding feelings and emotional support. It is about various things. And when we looked at self and body, then the expectations are mainly about the self. And bodily expectations, of course, have to be fulfilled. And those also may be there, but the body is an instrument for achieving our goal. So from that point of view, these goals that we have and these desire for feelings that we have, those are the real expectations. The other things are the means by which we can fulfill those expectations. So we call them instrument or sadhan. Now let's come to teacher student. The child grows up and is now a student, is going to a school. Now, what are the expectations of a child from the teacher? That the teacher will explain things to the child. Okay, of course he or she wants the teacher to be friendly, but if a teacher is friendly but doesn't teach anything, then what? The child will feel, no, its expectation is not getting fulfilled, something is missing. Similarly for the teacher, what does the teacher expect from the student? The teacher expects that the student will be able to will do the work, will listen to what is being said in the class, then will follow up, read what is studied in the class, will read the supporting material at home, will do the homework, home assignment. So these are the expectations of the teacher from the student. And what is it for? It is for knowledge, that the student understands things and so on. So every relationship has expectations. You will notice that sometimes we say do not have any expectations in relations. Now actually relationships have expectations. They are very natural. So it cannot be that we don't have expectation. What is natural cannot be denied. So therefore the what we need to understand is how to fulfill these expectations. But then people say no, expectations cannot be fulfilled. If they do not get fulfilled, even if sometimes expectations get fulfilled, times when the expectations do not get fulfilled, you will be very disappointed, you will feel sad, you will feel unhappy. So therefore better not to have expectation. All right. So again here I would say something that is natural is there. So it is very natural for a teacher to have expectation that the student is listening to him or her. Or after having listened, that this student is thinking about what has been covered. And after thinking, he is also doing the homework that has been assigned. Okay. So whether it is a student in the class or it's online or it's a workshop like this one which is going on, that is my expectation from all of you, that of course you are listening and you are thinking about it, and later you do some reflection, thinking, writing work, whatever. So it's a very natural thing. And these expectations, the difference here is these expectations can be fulfilled. If they are not getting fulfilled, we have to understand why they are not getting fulfilled and find ways by which they can be fulfilled. All right. So that is the difference. So the reason why they might not be fulfilled is because there is lack of understanding on either of the two sides. All right. So if the student doesn't understand the goal, so the student has joined the college, everybody has told him this is a way to get a job, and studying is not, and that's it. Then the goal of the student is to get a job. Next thing he asks, how do I get a job? By, he said, you have to pass. Said, all right, I will pass, but I don't worry about very good marks. If somebody says, no, to get a better job, you should have better marks. Then somebody says, then the student says, okay, I'll figure it out how to get better marks. But you never said anything about studying. So the messages we are passing today in the society are very confusing for the child, for the student. And as a result, that confusion leads to problems that we are having today in society at large and certainly inside education. So what we need to do, if our expectations are not getting fulfilled, if the students are not studying as we expected them to, that means we have to do something about it. And what would we do about it? We will try to raise the level of understanding. As a teacher, we will do it. As an institution, we will do it. As a society, we will do it. As a nation, we will do it. And as a humanity, we will do it. That is the task. So we have to start somewhere. So where do I start? I start from wherever I am. So I am a teacher. So I start from wherever I am in my class, in front of my students, with my students, conveying to them an understanding about the subject, understanding about life. It is a second part that is most important. Otherwise, we get into a training mode, reward and punishment, and then the reward is better marks and passing the exam, and punishment is failing the exam or something else. So here, this is what we need to do. We need to raise the level from reward and punishment to understanding why this knowledge is important for me in my living, in my life. Now, what this requires is that we teachers have to expand our vision. We are there in the classroom not just to teach about our subject, which might be mechanical engineering or mechanics of solids or on artificial intelligence or whatever else, but it is about life and life as it relates to living. So life is living and the education should relate to living. So that is what is required from us. That is where we need to start. And we start by first ourselves understanding what is needed to live. All right. And that is what this workshop is about. So as we increase our understanding, we will be able to convey our understanding to our students. So there are expectations in relations. The expectations can be fulfilled. And as we fulfill these expectations, then there is mutual fulfillment, mutual happiness. Okay, so that is called nyaya or justice in relationship. Okay, so there are these 4 steps in relationship. First is recognition of the expectations. Expectations are feelings or values in human relations. So we are now talking of human relations. So first step is recognition or identification of expectations or values in our relationships, and then we make effort in fulfilling the expectations of the other person. This is मूल्य का निर्वाह, पहचान और निर्वाह. Third step is evaluation. Having made the effort, then we evaluate, did our effort succeed or it did not succeed. That is called mulyankan or evaluation. Right evaluation is called mulyankan. So this is the third step. And the fourth step is, if we find that indeed we were successful, the values were fulfilled mutually, then we say mutual happiness. And this is called nyaya. So if we achieve 4 steps, all these 4 steps, then we have mutual happiness. So we are talking about parent-child, the teacher-student. So you can apply this now, the expectation of the teacher, recognition of that expectation. It is not tuition, it is not dakshina, it is expectation is that the student is putting effort to understand, putting effort to learn, putting effort to acquire the skill, but more importantly, acquire an understanding. So that becomes the first step. Second step, the effort that we make for fulfillment of the expectation. Now, if we do not succeed, step number 3, we evaluate and you say, no, I didn't succeed, the students didn't learn, then it will not lead to mutual happiness. Although if we have put our best effort, we will say, all right, we tried our best. But then when we think about it, we said, oh, something more could have been done. I put all my effort in teaching circuit theory, but I didn't put any effort in teaching why we should learn this knowledge and in the first place. Why engineering? Why 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 the life the way it is, and how I can live it having studied engineering. So then when we find our effort was lacking, why? Because the student didn't get it earlier. So we can keep blaming the student. Look here, the students have come, society, look at what society is doing. But did we make any effort? So then we say, this is what I can do. So with this larger understanding, I make my effort not just in teaching circuit theory, but also in teaching about life, in about universal human values, how they can be fulfilled, and so on. So this effort, when I make, I may get and I evaluate again. So I suddenly find that the circuit theory, lot more people are understanding, lot more people are going through it with better marks and so on. So I say, all right, so I have achieved more than what I was able to achieve, and if I have succeeded, then it leads to mutual happiness, and the students also feel a sense of gratitude. All right. So this is what is called justice in relationship. So if I go back to where we were looking at the relationships. Then there is brother-sister relationship, where we grow up together, we learn from each other, we support each other in feelings, okay? And brother-sister may be in the family, very naturally, or it may even be our workplace. So when we have our workplace, there are other faculty members. What is our relationship with them? Are we helping them, supporting them? Are they in turn helping us, supporting us? So this is what we should strive for. If we find that something is lacking in our department, in our relationships with our colleagues, this is something we can work right away. So as soon as after this workshop, when we go, we first thing is to work within our family, and then start applying it to our department, to our colleagues, with our colleagues. So again, justice will be there, nyaya will be there in this relationship, provided those 4 things are again done. We find out what is the expectation of my colleague from me, and what do I expect from my colleague. And then how, once we recognize the expectation, then we say, how can I fulfill it? I put in effort, and the other person actually sees the effort even before the results come. And if our attitude changes and our effort goes in the direction in which we are helping our colleague, you will find that the relationship starts changing even before any concrete result has come. All right. So this is also, I would say, intangible but very real outcome of. So when we try to help somebody with this laboratory work, or with this teaching, or in whichever way, my relationship starts changing, and I find that the other person becomes very supportive suddenly. So this is a change that we are talking about, because there were some questions people were asking, what should I do when I go back to college? So I would say, first is, don't do anything in your college. First, do it at your home. That is your first training ground. And having done that, then you can try it with your close colleagues, with your friends, or people who are around you. Try it with your PhD students, people with whom you interact more, and then slowly it expands. This whole set of the expectations from other people also one can try to fulfill slowly, and So the main point is that as we do this, the results in terms of mutual support, mutual happiness come very fast. Even before concrete results come, they typically take time. But then we find that as our relationships improve, then we are able to, then it becomes happier situation. It becomes a happy situation. And in with that state, it becomes easy to move forward. So we move forward now with happiness, with mutual fulfillment, rather than with opposition. So that is the change. Although we talk of competition and cooperation, this is where we are implementing it. So even with our own colleagues, so we cooperate, we help each other, and through that process we move forward. All right. Then, of course, fourth relationship is friends, people with whom I meet. I may, you know, the relationship I have. I mean, I will not be there with them for very long times, except I do some, things together. I share again certain things with my friends, with frankness and so on. And then Sathi Sayogi, this is like leader and assistant at workplace. So if I am head of the department, then what is my relationship with my other faculty colleagues? If I am a faculty member, how do I behave with my head? This is Sathi Sayogi. And similarly, if I am a faculty member, how do I relate with the principal? So these are at workplace people with whom we are working with a feeling. That is what we have. Then of course husband wife, this is one of the more difficult relationships. We may not have too much time to talk about it in this is more of a topics, but girl boy relationship, boyfriend girlfriend, with some things which have come up in fairly big way at an earlier age than before. We need to deal with it in the college. And seventh is system related relationships. So let's say I'm going in a car, driving, and the traffic policeman stops me or asks me to stop. Now that is a system related relationship. I do not know the person, he doesn't know me until we talk any further. And so with that, it is not a one-to-one relationship, at least in the beginning. It's a relationship that is defined by the system. So again, there are expectations. So when the policeman asks me to stop, then the expectation is that I will stop. All right. And if I am stuck somewhere, my expectation might be that the traffic policeman will help me. All right. So there are these expectations which will be system related, which will be there. So again, no matter which relationship we are talking about nyaya in relationship, justice in relationship. Okay. And those 4 steps when it leads to nyaya, we have already discussed. Okay. So when we discuss this topic with our discussion group, so there is sambandh and sampark. Sambandh is relationship and sampark means contact. So while we are related to all human beings, our contact may be only with a few people. And the people with whom we have contact, there are very definite expectations. In the case of where we do not have contact, there would still be expectations, but they would be general expectations. And if I were to come in contact with somebody whom I was not in contact earlier, those expectations will become specific and they will come up also. Okay. So while discussing this, you can ask in your discussion group with students, do you want nyaya only on a few occasions, or do you want nyaya at every moment? And this is where, when we look at courts, there are ways to resolve conflicts or to give a judgment, and based on that judgment, we hope that the society will continue. But as far as satisfaction is concerned, unfortunately, it does not fulfill, does not give satisfaction, it does not fulfill expectations because the understanding part is missing. So the understanding part, if it is incorporated, and we have to go even beyond laws then, because it is based on relationship and expectations, and legal things are only a part, the real, the uh, expectations are much more. For example, if two brothers, they are fighting over property, the court can settle the property, can give a judgment on the property. But how will it, you know, how will it lead to that the both brothers again have a feeling of relationship with each other? Now that doesn't get ensured in a court. So what Nyay, justice, when I'm using it in a larger sense, that not just legally, but also in the sense of feelings, that the feelings get repaired, the right feelings come in the people who have a difference in opinion or a conflict. So, so that court might give us the minimum, but we have to go and do more than that. So, let me now try to distinguish between or maybe we can take a quick break in case there are any questions. So Dr. Yogesh ji, will.
Yes, there is one question.
Yes.
How how to maintain relationship with negative thinker colleagues?
Just 1 minute. Can you repeat the question?
How to maintain relationship with negative thinker colleagues?
How to maintain relationship with negative colleagues?
Negative thinker colleagues. Negative thinking people.
Negative thinking colleagues. Okay,
Yes.
so one of the first things you have to do is to convert them into positive thinking colleagues. Okay, and I would say even before that change takes place, they become positive towards you. So, we have all had sometimes people who have had a bad childhood or bad experiences and they get into negative thinking mode. So, at least towards me, that attitude should change. All right. And this has happened to me, for example. So, there were colleagues who were very negative, but to me, they would say, this world is like this, and they would come and share their difficulties. To me, they have become positive. So that is the first step. And slowly, and hopefully that thinking can be changed. That it is not just for me, but for everyone. But the second journey is a longer journey. The first journey is a shorter journey where they become more assured by you, by your behavior. So then they become positive towards you. They are willing to listen to you and your relationships becomes better. So the advantage of universal human values is you do not have to wait to achieve the ultimate thing to be happy. Because the moment your relationship with this colleague improves, he becomes positive towards you. Your mutual fulfillment has started taking place, even though it is not yet taking place between that colleague and other colleagues. So, so this is a journey of joy, as I call it. And here the results come every minute, so to speak. I mean, one doesn't have to wait for the final result. Every bit then leads to, positive results, even in fairly quickly. So you have to try it. As I say, you have to verify, you have to experiment with it. So if you have a negative colleague, then how can he become positive towards you? All right. So that is what, and that would happen if your behavior changes, your own behavior changes. So he should see that you have changed or you have become different, because earlier I assume he was negative towards you also. So now there is a negative bank balance. So you have to first correct that negative bank balance, or where he starts noticing you. difference in you, and he starts becoming positive towards you. Yeah. Next question.
There is no question, sir.
Okay, so then I will proceed. Okay, so sometimes people say, what do I get in return in a relationship? Okay, and what you get in return is good feelings, and your own feelings become better. Why? Because you feel satisfied in your relationships. Your relationships are free of complaint. So as so that is your expectation in a way, and as you are fulfilling the expectations, you feel happier, you feel more satisfied. Now, of course, when you expect something other than this, when you expect a definite fruit, phal, then it's like a transaction. You say, I went to a shop, now I wanted to buy a book. So that book is what is my parinam, my result, my phala. So then now it's a transaction. So there are no feelings involved. Okay. Moment feelings start coming in, that transaction starts getting converted into a not just a transaction where there are no feelings, but something in which there are feelings. So it becomes a relationship. So uh, so a transaction is where you exchange something, but there is no feelings or no specific feelings associated with it. And in a way, the question is, what kind of a society we have? What kind of societal systems do we have? Do they promote transactions or do they promote relationships? So let us consider the following example. A family went to a restaurant, had a meal. So you went to a restaurant and had a meal. And after it was over, you asked for the bill. The bill came and you were surprised. It listed the various expenses for what you have eaten, and it is as per the menu card. But at the bottom it says amount to be paid 0. And you look at the waiter and say, what has happened? You are saying I don't have to pay anything. And the waiter says, yes, sir, you do not have to pay anything. Your bill has been paid. And then you ask, who has paid the bill? He says, sir, I can't tell you that. So you look around in the restaurant, various tables. Who is it? Who is the person who has paid your bill? All right. So, but you don't recognize anybody. So you start getting up, very happily surprised. And then the waiter asks you, saying, sir, would you like to pay somebody else's bill? And you look at the person, said yes. So the previous customer has paid the bill. Now, if you pay something, that will be the used for the bill of the next customer. Okay. So when I tell this little story, I asked my students in my group and said, and asked them, what would you do? Would you pay pay anything? So out of 20, 2 or 3 students say, sir, no, I will not pay anything. I said, certainly, there is no expectation. There is no requirement, at least, that you would pay anything at all. So you can go. And most people say that, yes, I will pay. In fact, majority, 17, 18 people out of 20 would say, yes, I would pay something. Then I ask them, how much would you pay? Surprisingly, most of them say, I will pay a little more than the bill. Okay, so you understand? And once you know, I asked them, so notice that we are when we are put in a situation like this, we are paying a little more than the bill. Otherwise, we would say, no, the food was so expensive. This restaurant overcharges. Overcharges means it is asking you to pay as according to menu card, but it is overcharging, etc., etc. Okay. So you go with a dual feeling. You may have liked the food, enjoyed the food, but you say, no, no, the charges were higher. And now you are you have eaten well, you like the food, and on top of it, you are going out with a good feeling that I have paid for somebody else, and somebody else paid for me. So this is actually a relationship because it generates feelings in us. The former case where we pay according to bill and go out, the feelings are taken out, or the feelings reduce, or finally there are no feelings. It's a transaction only. So this is a difference. Now, a society in which we want people to be happy, people to be related, people have feelings, emotions, we will build systems which promote all this. Okay, so I was having this discussion with people, with students, and most of them, they said that. And one of the students remarked, "Sir, this is what life is. Because throughout life we get gifts from our ancestors, unknown people, humanity at large. And when we pass away, we leave things for the next generation. So actually, the life is built on the same theory, the same principle that we receive things for free as a gift, and it is our responsibility then to act responsibly and leave things for the next generation as a gift again. So this is what life is, and with this life, the feelings come alive. So, and the whole, wherever we go, wherever we'll have a feeling of happiness, a feeling of self-assurance that I am in the company of friends, I am in the company of people who are there to help me. And this is, also called gift culture. Incidentally, there is a restaurant in Ahmedabad which follows this. So you can go there and you don't have to pay anything. It's up to you. So you receive a gift and you can in return give a gift. So this is also called gift culture. This has been tried at many other places. In Berkeley, which is a California, University of California town in Berkeley, there are such restaurants, and run and inspired and run by Indians, by Nipun Mehta. So you see, this idea of gift and gift culture generating feelings, it is not limited to any society. It is for all human beings. So that is the good part. That is why it is universal. And what do you think? How do you think it would be? It would have been 100 years back. The same. How do you think it will be 100 years from now? The same. Human being is the same. So it is up to us what kind of society we build, which promotes it or which promotes transactions. Of course, when we have a transaction, still it should be a fair transaction, even though there are no feelings. But what we give, what we uh, receive. So what we receive, equal to that we give. And the fairness is determined not just legally, but what we believe it to be. Okay, so it is more than just legal. And even though the price for many of the services we receive is very low, because people who give those services are underprivileged people, but we would act and behave differently with those people. So the fairness idea, even when it's a transaction, and the moment we strive for this, from a transaction to a fair transaction, not a business transaction, but a fair transaction. Even business transaction should be a fair transaction. So when we strive for a fair transaction, it generates a good feeling inside us at least. And when we rise above it, and it's a sampark or contact and work based on relationship, and then it takes on a different dimension. And a wise society builds its culture and practices in which feelings get generated or enhanced in day-to-day functioning. Okay. Uh, Let me tell you another story. This is a real story happened to me. I was in a train going from Delhi to Kanpur. It was a cold, wintry night, and I remember the date. It was 3rd January 2010, and it was morning time. I think it was around 5:30 or 6 a.m. The train on which I was traveling came to a stop. Uh, so I said, well, it might have stopped. uh, and it remained stopped. So after about 5-10 minutes, I was, you know, waking up. So I uh, peered, peeped out of the window and saw that it was a very small station where the height of the platform was far below, not even the normal height. So it was a very small station, and I wondered what was happening. So I came down. And what I'm showing you, this is there in the mentor's manual, just to tell you, chapter 11. So I came down and asked, and I was told that the train has had a major accident. Uh, I said, where has the accident taken place? And this was actually the guard, somebody official, let me say. And because of mobile phone, they can find these things out fairly quickly. So they said, it is a third train ahead of us. So this train, then there are two more trains ahead of us, and the third train ahead of us has had a major accident. And the railway has done what it could do, park the trains which were behind this train in which there is accident, park those trains in the next available station, whether big or small. So I asked how much time it would take. They said, we can't say. Only thing we know is that there has been no fatality. Nobody has died, but there might have been some injuries. The train has derailed. So it was a cold wintry morning. So I said, let me have tea. And there was a tea shop. It was the only tea shop on that small platform. And it was full, and you can imagine why. Because it is cold and now hot tea is being served. But the crowd has collected because this is a small shop, hardly trains of this kind don't stop, and and the passengers are suddenly feeling the need. So I go to the shop, and what does the shopkeeper say? Please wait. I'll give you tea with the same. I have tea leaves. I have sugar. And milk I have, but I don't have enough milk. But don't worry, by the time I have milk for now, and more milk will come. I have already phoned. And soon enough, I saw the scooter. Somebody came on a scooter carrying a milk vessel to give milk to the tea vendor. So this is what started happening. And he says the price would be the same, and so on. So the question I ask the students is, what if the vendor said, same amount of tea leaves, same sugar, same milk, but the price of tea will no longer be 5 rupees, now it will be 10 rupees. How would you feel? Okay. Most students say that I would feel cheated. Why? Because he is charging me, he is taking advantage of my situation. If you look at the theory, and if there is an MBA or a person trained in modern economics, what would he say? He says, no, demand and supply. So you can increase the price if the demand goes up. So he is a fool, he should increase his price. So look at what we are teaching and what we naturally feel within us. So when we build a society that is not according to the natural state of being fair, of receiving money for the service that I'm for the work that I'm doing so that I can carry out my livelihood. But if it becomes a way to collect money fairly or unfairly, even though it might be legal because you have work based on demand and supply. So this is the society that you have will now be full of unhappiness. It will be full of insecurity. It will be full of, people wondering whether they got cheated or they didn't get cheated. And now who is teaching all this? This is being taught in our best schools, best institutions. Who are studying? Students who have worked very hard to get into those management institutes, the Indian Institutes of Management and so on. And this is what we are teaching them. This is the society we are building. So we need to revisit many of our assumptions that we made in building our society. And this requires a rethink, and this rethinking will happen from educational institutions if we are able to think, if we are the thought leaders of society. Otherwise, society will find other ways, and education system or the current education system will remain a follower and not a thought leader. So, so you can read about this. Incidentally, one of my nephews who was born and lives in US, he was visiting, and I told him exactly the same story. And he has done his MBA from Michigan, one of the Ivy League schools. And he thought about it for some time. So he said, yeah, demand and supply. I said, how would you feel if this happened to you? He said, no, I'll feel cheated. I said, why? It is according to theory of supply. You said supply and demand. Then he again became thoughtful. And he said, oh yes, in Harvard now they teach about ethics. So if I act ethically, then my business will go up. So I asked him that in this case, that tea vendor, it's unlikely that the same passengers will ever stop again. In fact, most of those passengers were on an express train like me. And this small station wasn't even our destination. It wasn't even as a stop station on which our express trains stop. So it's almost 100%, none of these people are ever going to come to that station again. So how will that ethics help his business? To that he had no answer. So I only asked him one thing. Is ethics for business or business is for ethics? So I leave that question to you. And I'm sure when you carry out discussion with your student group, you will you will see all this. So let me now come to with this background, the trust and respect. So I thought I will cover that quickly. So exploring with trust. So trust means I do not doubt the intention of the other person. That the other person wants to make me happy and the other wants to make himself happy. Right? So if I ask these 4 questions, which I think in the presentation in the workshop, this may already have been covered. So I want to make myself happy, yes or no? The answer of course is yes. I want to make the other person always happy, yes or no? And most people say yes, I want to make others happy. Now, does the other wants to make himself happy? And of course, people say yes. But does that other person want to make me happy? This is where the question mark comes. Okay. And trust means that I am able to answer yes to this 4th question also. Okay. So, and of course, this requires that we distinguish between wanting and ability. So want and ability. Ability. Chahana, want, or yogyata, which is ability or competence. So if we make a distinction between these two, then trust relates to want or chahana. What is my basic fundamental want is whether to make others happy or not. It is part of that fundamental want. So this is where things will be different, and I can concentrate. So I can be, when I understand that distinction, then I realize that many times I was really thinking about ability, but ascribing want to that. So the other person is not able to make me happy, therefore he doesn't want to make me happy. Same thing we should ask ourselves. Am I able to make the other happy always? If the answer is no, then why do we, and do I want to make others happy? If you have answered yes, then clearly the same thing would apply to the other person also. So that he wants to make you happy, but is not able to make you happy. And you should try this in your own family without telling them theory and what, but through your actions, through your behavior. So if that happens, then attitude of your family, then they will notice, oh, that you have come from a worthwhile workshop, and that will be important. And based on that positive feedback, or based on that success, you try it in your department. Based on that success, you try it in the larger institution, and so on. Okay, so there are exercises which are given here in under trust. How many people do you trust? List names of people on whom you have complete trust, continuously and unconditionally. And name now those persons who you feel are close to you, but you do not trust them completely and continuously. So why do you lack complete trust in them? Think about it, analyze it. Now you can do the reverse. How many people trust you? And how do you know that they trust you? So this is a good exercise to do. And all right, so we now come to respect. Okay, this is again value, human value in human relationships. So respect means samman, sam means right, man means evaluation, right evaluation. So respect is defined here as right evaluation. This is something we do irrespective of who the other person is. We are evaluating. And in Guru Shishya, before Shishya becomes the Shishya, he or she evaluates the Guru. Vivekananda, do you think who evaluated whom? It is Vivekananda who evaluated Ramakrishna Paramhans first. He asked him, have you seen God? And Ramakrishna Paramhans replied, and based on that answer, Vivekananda was forced to think, and he accepted Ramakrishna Paramhansa as his Guru. So don't think that respect or evaluation is done only by the teacher. The evaluation is also done by the student. Now the evaluation should be right evaluation. And this is what is important. So I will just jump to that. And the right evaluation is on the basis of the self, not on the basis of clothes, not on the basis of wealth, not on the basis of height, color of skin, or whatever else. So the first thing that is part of the evaluation is that the other is like me. Our purpose is the same. I want to be continuously happy, and so does the other. Our program is the same. My program is to live happily through understanding and living in harmony, and so it is for the other person. Our kshamta, our capacity is the same. We both have the ability to understand and to live in harmony, and therefore to be happy. So capacity is also the same. The difference is in the level of understanding, okay, and therefore in our ability. Our ability depends on our understanding and our practice, abhyasa. So the difference is in the level of understanding. And now when I see the difference, if the other has better understanding than me, then I am ready to accept from the other person. If the other, I find that the other has lesser understanding than me, then I accept the responsibility to improve the understanding wherever possible. Okay? And this does not mean I thrust myself upon the other person to improve, but I make it, accept it as a responsibility that I also take care of this. Okay, so this is the starting point. Now the mistake that we make in evaluation is that our basis of evaluation is wrong. Okay, so roop bal pad dhan. Roop is body or form. So we evaluate based on the body, on the race, on color, or size, or gender. So it is based on rupa, akar, and so on. Size, shape, color of the other person's body. I might evaluate the other person for respect or right evaluation based on strength of the body. So as far as understanding and feelings are concerned, Roop and Bal are not the important points. They may be important for some skill, but certainly not for understanding and feelings. Third, I might be evaluating the other person based on position that the person holds. Okay, and this I used to tell people when I was the director, that respect comes because I feel something for the person, not because he or she holds a position in the organization or in society. Similarly, wealth. So evaluation based on wealth, the other person is rich, therefore I have respect. No, this is not how respect is. So if I use these four, and the fifth one is Vad, based on thought, caste, religion, ideology, or any other belief. So if the evaluation is based on these five things, namely respect is based on these five things, then actually it is not respect. It will not last, it will not be continuous, and one will also go wrong in life if one does this. Okay, because life is built out of natural things, and the natural thing for which the respect comes very naturally in us is based on understanding. Somebody who is compassionate, who understands things, we naturally have a respect for such a person. Whether he holds a position, whether he has wealth, whether he has uh, color of skin or whatever, then we'll have respect for such a person. So this is what is natural to us, and most of the time, and this is what, by the way, advertisement is telling us, that you should, if you wear such and such perfume, you will be respected. By whom? By the persons of the opposite sex. Or if you wear such and such jeans, then you will be respected by people of other people of either sex. So the whole effort, the societal effort, is going behind things which cannot produce respect. And as I mentioned, somebody who says, I want to be the richest man on earth, and he says, and I ask him why, and some people answer, because then I will be respected, I will get respect. Now what is that person trying? He's trying to use wealth to get respect. And these five things can never ever give you respect. It will be something else. It will be either false respect or jealousy, even jealousy, and so on. So when the other person has understanding, has feelings, then the respect comes very naturally to the other person. So if I want respect, then what will I do? I will work on my understanding. I'll work on my compassion. I'll work on my feelings, and how I am able to fulfill these things with people I know. Okay, so uh, so again, through examples, one can relate to one's own life. So this exercise, by the way, says this is for everybody, anybody who goes through the manual, whether students or teachers. Narrate 5 interactions you had with others, uh, and check within yourself where you might have felt some respect, some feelings, where the eval interactions were based on Roop, Bal, Pad, Dhan or Vad. Okay, so based on form, based on strength, based on position, wealth, or ideology or thought. Okay, so this is a practical exercise which can be done, and you once you verify it within yourself, then you know that when you go out in that big car for which you have spent a lot of money just to get respect, and not because you have a huge big family which needs to fit into the car, then you will know that if it works for me, it also works for the other person. So that big car, if it doesn't work for you, it will also not work for the other person. So it's very unfortunate that I put my whole life for 20, 30 years of my life collecting wealth to gain respect, when actually respect cannot be gotten from wealth. So this is something that is what how things are. This is how reality is. So that is why we do not say do this or don't do this. So we don't say don't collect wealth to get money. No, that is, we won't talk of do's and don'ts. I said if you are thinking that wealth will give you respect, then it is, you're mistaken. You are wrong. Because respect comes naturally only based on your behavior, based on your understanding and feelings that the other person sees in you. So that is how reality is. Now you can go and verify. So this whole methodology is not about do this or don't do this, but this is how things are. This is a proposal, and you go and verify it. If it works for you, accept it. If it doesn't work for you, reject it. Keep trying later on also, because at some point you will realize that indeed this is true, and when you find it is true, it will work well for you, and then at least you will start living your life more naturally, more happily, and so on. Okay, so uh, the last item is about nature and environment. I decided I will cover this very briefly. The four orders have already been covered: material order, plant order, animal order, human order. So that is what you would discuss in the group discussion. And the first three orders, they are actually in harmony with each other. Their conduct is definite. They are balanced based on, there is santulan, there is a balance based on usefulness and complementarity. So the plant order is complementary to material order. Animal order is complementary to plant order, and so on. So this is how the three orders are in harmony with each other. The human order is also meant to be in harmony with others, but with a false understanding that we have, and therefore false systems that we are creating, and how education is lacking. The human order has taken the wrong path, and through that wrong path, it has disturbed the balance of the earth, and we are heading towards a climate change, global warming, and the destruction of entire life on the planet. So this is what we need to understand. So human being is also meant to be complementary to all this, and human being with his superior intellect, superior reasoning, with feelings, positive feelings, the human being is designed in such a way that it can, uh, you know, bring about a much greater and much wider balance. But today, human being is doing the opposite, and that is why the whole earth is in crisis. So we need to do something about it. Now, this is a way of presenting what is being told to students in any case by society, that we should save environment. And why should we save? Because it is good for us. We feel happy when we do this. Okay, and also the earth is protected. So we can present it this way, but then after that we can, the point, the main point here is that even when all this is being told to students from school days, as well as from various other sources, they think my doing this small thing, my not using plastic, will not make any difference. There are millions of people who are throwing away plastic. So the change has to start from us. So this course would be successful only if you are able to uh, convey that their actions make a difference, that they themselves should work on it. And even though it may be a small difference, it is what trains us. And as we expand in our life, as we start playing a bigger role in society, then change will come more easily, because everybody starts feeling this through education. And then people who are in leadership position feel the same way. Then very big decisions can be taken, and we can be climate, we can make ourselves environment friendly. We can save electricity, switch off electricity as we step out of a room, not waste water, avoid use of plastics, and so on. So this is what we can do in here. So the success would be if students actually start practicing this. So it is not just that they have been told about it, they have understood some concepts, but it also comes into practice. So this is where feelings also comes in, and responsibility that comes along with it. So with feelings and responsibility, then we can start, that we can see, we hopefully we can create a change amongst people, amongst our students inside our institution, and through that in our surroundings, in our society at large. So thank you. So we can take questions now.
There is one question.
Yes.
Which things affect feeling and how can we control our feelings?
I'm sorry, which feelings affect?
Uh, which things affect feelings?
Which things affect feelings? Okay.
And connected question is how we can control our feelings.
So it is not the things which affect our feelings. It is our internal state, our drishti, our perspective about things, which affect our feelings. So two people who are in very similar, almost identical circumstances, one behaves, one reacts in a very negative way, the other person responds in a positive way. So it's our internal state that is most important in dealing with this. And this internal state is a result of our understanding and how we have developed ourselves, our Jagrati, our awakening. So we are in touch with ourselves, our feelings, and together with that we have the right understanding. So rather than reacting, rather than blaming, we start working for solution. We become the agent of change, and others see positivity in us, and that also brings about a change outside. So person who is positive, who has good feelings, is in harmony with himself or herself, such a person, when he or she interacts with others, will spread positivity. Somebody who is having a conflict inside, is unhappy, is blaming, he or she will actually distribute negativity. So it's up to us to decide what we want to do. And the good part is, as we spread positivity, hopefully it will also lead to a positive change in the environment. So whatever it was that was causing the problem, hopefully we will all then work to correct that situation. Thank you.
One more question, sir. Can anyone get respect if he do his work and performance with full dedication and sacrifice everything for the society?
Uh, it will depend on the people who are there. So the feeling of respect, if somebody who is himself very disturbed, he may not even see what you are doing. But what I have found, that others see the goodness in you, and the goodness of your actions about what you are doing. So slowly they start seeing it, and with that they might feel, and certainly I think they will feel a feeling of respect. But I would not recommend that you neglect your family or ignore your family in trying to do larger things in society. I would say carry both. So do uh, maintain good, start with your family, I would say. Maintain good thoughts, good connections, good feelings with your own family and larger family. And as you step out and do more things in society, then your family you are carrying along with you, hopefully. Okay? So that would be a more desirable state.
One more question, sir. How can we progress in our research work as per these principles?
Oh, that's an easy question to answer. So how do you do well in your research? You do well in your research when you identify the problem. So it starts a good problem. That is the starting point of actually your research. So with this larger vision, hopefully you'll be able to recognize the and choose the problem on which you will do research. So that will be a more informed choice. It will be a better choice of a problem. Then secondly, as you start working on a problem, you might feel that, oh, why am I doing this? I'm doing it for promotion. Now you have limited yourself. You have limited your own potential. So you are interested in doing just enough work so that you are able to publish it in some journal which is acceptable, and that's it. Now you have actually undermined yourself. So with these thoughts, with this understanding, you will say, my goal is not to, uh, or not just to gain a promotion. Promotion is something that happens, but my goal is so that this research makes a difference. Either it makes a difference to the field where new theories you are proposing, or it makes a difference to society where your research is making an impact, makes an impact on society. So you work for those two things. So when you work for those things, and depending on the success you reach, you will have at least be moving towards the situation where you can have a much larger impact, much larger success in your research. Promotions and other things follow, and they take time, but they follow. So instead of taking shortcuts, you are working on the right things. And when you work on the right things, you see, you most of the time, almost always, I would say, you get results. And even if you don't get results, sometimes problem is very hard, right things are not there, right support is not there. Even then you will feel a sense of satisfaction that I did what I did. And based on that, I'm sure you will still get your promotion. It's others who will say, no, he's done such, he has put in such good effort, such a person should be promoted. So when you work for larger goals, the smaller goal, which promotion is a smaller goal, more ordinary goal, it will get fulfilled. That confidence you would have. And that's the absolute confidence. That is the absolute confidence I have worked in my life. So, and I can tell you from my experience, the results have always been more than what I imagined, and they have become earlier than what I imagined. So it's a matter of having faith, and then as you work based on that faith, you get verification and you get confidence. So from faith, you move towards confidence and you move towards self-confidence. And so therefore, this entire journey is a journey of joy. So my benefit, the results I get, outcomes I get, I feel happier as I achieve what I set out to achieve, even when I'm unable to achieve what I set out to achieve. And the smaller goals, of course, do get fulfilled in time. Thank you.
Okay, one small question, sir. I think she is one of our students who are going to join NIT Patna. My suggestion is that the universal human values should be taught to all parents. Am I correct, sir?
I fully agree with the student. I share the anguish and the pressure that, the anguish children have, students have, and the pressure is generated by society as well as by parents. So the answer to you is, the person who has asked the question, short answer, we are actually working on parents. How? You are going to be future parents. So we have started work on you. We have started working on the parents. So 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you will be parents. Remember these things. Practice it with your own children when you become parents. So we have actually started work with parents first. Thank you.